Hello friends, and welcome to another video lesson from DBO Stocks. If you haven't subscribed yet, please click the subscribe button and click the bell so that you can be notified of new uploads. I'll be uploading 1 to 2 videos every week. In this video, we will learn about data types, equality operators, aggregate functions, order by clause, and if time allows, we will get on with some other topics. These will further equip us when we start using the where clause in our select statements. Alright, let's start with data types. Data types, if we put it simply, the name itself is very suggestive. It is like telling us the type of data. As you know, we're talking we're trying to learn SQL, which is the language to communicate with a database. Now the root word there is data. So definitely we must have a good understanding of what are the possible kinds of data out there. So data types, if we look here, you see that in Oracle and SQL Server there's so many types of data, so many data types. And if you look, you see on the left side I listed down the Oracle data types. On the right side I listed down the SQL Server data types. They're the equivalent data types side by side. Let's say number, and then on the other side on SQL Server of Microsoft it's called numeric. Here number, there is called numeric identity. Here float, here real, date, small data, number, etc., etc. Now, what am I driving at? I'm saying there are so many data types out there. In fact, I didn't even put here the whole list. This is just, in fact, it's even less than half of the list of data types that have been defined, just talking about these two database vendors, Oracle and SQL Server. So the point is, instead of wasting our time trying to learn the differences about this, it's good to have a high-level view of what they are, and as you move along and trying to pick up and learn the basic things, then you have the luxury of time to get on with the more the nitty-gritty, the details of these data types. For now, it's best to again go with what works. I mean, in the interest of time, what you can grasp in the least amount of time. Those that are in heavy usage and will put your skills, will keep you up, put you, I mean, instead of just spending much time trying to understand all these things, it's good to have an understanding of the high level. So let's just put it simply. What I'm gonna do is just I will remove all these things, and then let's simplify it. So data type is sometimes written as one word, sometimes it's written as two words. In Oracle, it is one word, data type. With all that, you've seen the list of the data types. There's so many of them. It's just part of the list. I will reduce it to a simple list of 3, which are the most common ones being used as you keep on using SQL statements, select statements. So the 3 most common ones are these: number, which is on other SQL flavors called numeric. We have varchar2. Varchar2 is an Oracle term. It's good that you know it because Oracle is the most popular database software, especially among MNCs, big companies. And then you have sometimes in other companies it's called car, in other database vendors. And then you have date. So we have number, car or varchar2, and then date. Then it all makes sense rather than going through the motions of learning all those float, point, uh, long, int, all those things. So first things first, we know what number is, what a number is. We know it from way back in school, mathematics, from primary school, we've learned about numbers. Just a high level, we can further break it down actually into two, just so that once you encounter these terms, you will not be taken aback. So if you hear of integer, although we know it's a number, an integer is a signed whole number. Okay, signed whole number. Signed meaning it can be positive, it can also be negative, but it's a whole number. It's either 1, 7, 9. It doesn't have a decimal value to it. That's the meaning of an integer. It's a signed whole number. Now, when you see the word float, it means that number it may or may not have a decimal value. Examples of that, let's say 7.15, or you can even say 6.00. Like this looks familiar because when we talk about money, then you're talking about cents, dollars and cents. Then you have this element here. So if you talk of numbers and we break it down just a little bit, then you should get into the comfort level of knowing that there are certain things called integers, which are nothing but signed whole numbers. They don't have a decimal value. They can be negative, that's why it's called signed. And there are numbers that are called float. Those have a decimal value to it, meaning when this kind of data are saved in the database, that precision is saved along with it. It will not just save 6. If it's a float, it will save 6.00. Okay, and then we have varchar2 or car. So varchar2, these are the letters, and not just the letters of the alphabet, the 26 of them, but also special characters like, let's say, slash, any kind of character that you can make it appear when you type on your keyboard is can be a character. Even a space, when you hit that space bar, is a character. So an asterisk, a slash, um, even a number can become a character, but we will explain that later on. So we've learned number and then character. The third is date. It's obvious that what a date is, we know what a date is, but the thing about this, why are we discussing this? Because it is not only to understand that these are the major types of data, but to have an awareness that the point of all this is the database software will process and allow operations of these data types according to that data type. Example, a data with a number data type can be manipulated using mathematical operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, exponentiation, square root, all those things. Percentage, modulus, which is division, and again getting the remainder. If it is a date, then it doesn't make sense to multiply a date, right? So those things will come into play. What makes sense for that particular type of data? Talking about data type. So for date, we can do some addition. Yep. Let's say the date today plus 3, that means 3 days from today. Or the date today minus 30, that's about a month ago. So those kinds of operations will come into play. Varchar2 or character, you will not do an addition to a letter, to a character. You will not. You will do some other manipulations like concatenation, joining maybe first name and last name. Okay, so those kinds of things. This is the purpose of categorizing the data into these data types. So again, we're just breaking it into three um, very commonly used ones: number, varchar2 or car, and date. And then you understand that, be aware that number, under number, it could either be a whole number, which is an integer. Sometimes in other languages it's called int. I think Java. In fact, Java even has, I believe, 4 kinds of integer, like long. Long is a long integer. So anyway, integer, float. Float will have decimal values. Integer will not. It will be a signed whole number. Okay, that's data types. Now let's examine some data types in a table called invoice. So again, we will just focus on these three very, very common data types: number, character or varchar2, and the date. I will query the table called invoice. By the way, for those who are viewing or visiting the channel for the first time, I would recommend that you watch the first 2 videos prior to this one on the same channel, DBOS Talks, for you to have a better grasp, a better solid ground to stand on before you jump into this. This is not yet so advanced, but still, it will really be smooth if you will start from the intro. Okay, so we are looking now at a table called invoice. I did a select asterisk from invoice. This is a command we have used in the previous video. Select is the keyword to query data. Asterisk is a wildcard character, meaning all columns from invoice table. Okay, select asterisk from invoice. So at the bottom of the screen of this tool, you can see the data grid showing, nicely showing the data in columns and rows. So again, we have columns like invoice ID, customer ID, invoice date. And then the horizontal elements are the rows: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now we are going to start using a where clause, which is a standard part, a typical part of a select statement. So here we will be using a where clause using a column with character data type. Note the use of quotes, single quotes. So here I have a select statement. For the interest of time, in the interest of time, I have typed in advance commands so you can learn more in less time without really rushing into it. So select asterisk from invoice where billing state equals AB. So remember, we have just learned there are 3 data types that we want to focus on: number, varchar2, and date. But in this example over here, we are trying to focus on character data type, varchar2 or car, depending on the SQL flavor. So select all columns from this table where the column name, billing state, has a value of AB. And because the data type of this column is varchar2 or character, I'm enclosing the value, which I'm using in the where clause. I'm enclosing it in single quotes. This one, quote AB, close quote, and then you have the terminator, optional for some SQL flavors. So now we executed that query, and you will notice that the data has changed. Now you see here in the billing state column that the values are all AB, exactly following the where condition that we have given to the select statement, where billing state equals AB. So naturally, you're seeing only records with that value for billing state column. Okay, understood. So here we are learning 2 things at the same time. We have started using the where clause, which is very important for filtering the records that we are querying from the table. And at the same time, we are trying to put into practice, we are trying to apply what we have learned about data types. In this case, character. Again, because it's a character, we will enclose it in quotes. When this value is kept in the database, it doesn't necessarily have quotes in them because the table itself, the database itself knows that the data type is var character. But this is when we are querying in using a select statement, then we will use a single quotes to enclose a value which is character. Okay, so we're selecting from this table where this column name has this value only. So the only records you will see are those with billing state equals AB. Again, if I will just query everything, you will see the difference again. So select asterisk from invoice without the where will pull everything from the table, all the records. And you will see the billing state is a mix of values. AB, these are states of the US, Washington, Nevada, Arizona. Some are null. Null is a concept that we will delve into in the coming, maybe in the next video. But null is the SQL term for nothing, no value. Okay, we will talk about that in another video. And just remember that null means no value. It is not zero, it is not space, it is not a blank, it is not a dash. It is the absence of a value. So in this column, null, the value is not even, there is no value. So it's not even holding a single character. Because if you have space, which you created using a space bar, then you are holding that one space, one byte of character. So here, this is, we are showing you with the select statement without a where, it is querying everything under the, especially because we have no where clause in the billing state. Okay, and then with this condition where billing state equals AB, it has been reduced to this, only those. Okay, let's jump into the next where clause using a column with number data type. So this time we will use again the where clause, but this time we will use a column whose data type is number. So here it is, I have typed again in the interest of time. Select asterisk from invoice table where customer ID, column name, equals 8. And here, because it's a number data type, I have not enclosed the value 8 in single quotes. I only do that on characters and on dates. So number, I don't. When I execute this, then it returns a different set of data altogether. Those with the customer ID of 8. So if you look at the column called customer ID, the second column here, all of them have a value of 8. Exactly because I have given that in the where condition. Select asterisk from invoice where customer ID equals 8. So here we're learning two things again, the use of the where clause and getting an understanding of an appreciation of how the data types work. So here is a number data type. Earlier we used a character data type as a where condition. Okay. Moving on. Now we'll use a where clause using a column with a date data type. Remember, we are focusing on 3 of the most commonly used data types in the database universe, I might say. Number, character, or var2 in Oracle, and date. Those, hands down, those are the 3 most commonly used data types in the database realm. So now we are looking at looking at a date data type. Note, I put a note here, use of quotes. Just as in a character data type, we will also enclose a date inside single quotes. So we have our select statement, select asterisk from invoice, the same table, where invoice date is less than 2007-08-24. Order by invoice date. This is a mouthful. And here, in this example, we are learning a couple of things which are, some are new to you. So we're familiar with the select, we have the from, we have the invoice, which is the table name, where clause. Invoice date is the name of the column. Now we are seeing here something new. Less than. It's not totally new because we've seen this in school, but I mean in SQL. It is the same less than that we've learned from, elementary, primary school. Less than. It's equality or inequality operator. So less than this value, 2007-08-24. Order by invoice date. The first time we're seeing this in this video, the equality operator or inequality. Order by clause used for sorting the data, and of course the column by which we are ordering or sequencing the data result set. When I execute this, we have a different data set being returned to us. So it selects data from invoice table, where invoice date, the column, this column over here, has values like this, less than 2007 August 24, meaning dates older than August 24. That means August 23 and beyond, back, further back. And order by the whole thing, we're telling the database to order by, after pulling all the data, display it in a way so that it is sorted according to the invoice date. So let's check the invoice date values. We have 2007, January 3, January 6, Feb 1, Feb 2, Feb 3. So all of them are meeting the where condition of being less than or older than August 24. All the way down, we go there, and this is, remember, this is sorted according to the invoice date, so this must be the max or the newest or most recent date or maximum date. It's August 16, which is still less than August 24, or less than in the context of date is older. Okay, so in this example alone, we are learning a couple of things. The use of the where clause on a date, on a column with date data type, the use of this less than operator, which we have seen in mathematics in school, and the use of the order by clause, order by column. I hope it's understood. I hope it's clear. Okay. So we have equality operators. We have all of these, we're familiar with them because we've seen them in mathematics in school. Equals, equal sign, less than, greater than, this, not so common, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. Now, the question for some would be, what's the use of less than or equal to? What's the use of greater than or equal to? It's like this. Oops. Imagine you have values 1 to 5. If we say less than 3, the values less than 3 are 1, 2. If we say greater than 3, the values greater than 3 are 4 and 5. But we have a problem. What's the problem? I'll give you a few seconds. We have less than 3, 1, 2. Greater than 3, 4, 5. But we have a problem. The problem is, where is 3? 3 is not in this list. It's neither here nor here. Why? Because we don't have the equal. That's where the equal comes into play. So Actually, in real, accurate mathematics, especially in computer programming, the opposite of less than 3 is not greater than 3. The opposite of this, if you want to cover the whole data set, is actually greater than or equal to 3. With that slight change, you have included number 3 into this list, and nothing is missing now. You have covered the whole data set, 1 to 5. That is the purpose and the beauty of these operators. Less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. This will help you to have data integrity. Integrity, we've heard of this word in, in the legal system, being squeaky clean, you don't have a criminal record. Integrity. Same thing with data. When you have data integrity, then the data is reliable. It's clean. Okay, so we have learned a couple of things. To recap, let's focus on 3 data types. Type of data: number, sometimes called numeric. Under that, we have integer, which is a signed whole number, can be positive, can be negative, but whole number, it has no decimal value. Float, which has a decimal value. And then second, we have varchar2, called in Oracle. In other flavors, it might be called car or something else. It is a character, it can be a letter, it can be a special character like backspace, slash, question mark, even asterisk, even a space created by your spacebar is a character in itself. And then we have date. So these three are being handled differently as data, and even the way they're being written is different. You already seen here when we're using them in a where clause. If it is a character, we enclose that value in single quotes. If it is a number, we don't. If it is a date, we enclose it in quotes. In fact, the date this isn't everything about dates, because date is, depending on the country, the format is changing. So let's say you are US centric. If you're US, it would be month, date, year, and the Philippines would be the same. Maybe Thailand or Japan would be the same. If you were UK centric, Singapore, maybe India, Malaysia, it would be like this: day or date, month, year. And then if you were from Hong Kong, it would be different: year, month, date. Those are the 3 popular date formats that we see in different kinds of data. So that data, we have learned of equality operators. I've talked about this for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then there's another one. It's not exactly an equality operator, but I've squeezed it into this list between, just so you can get a good look at it, maybe a quick look at it. So let's again revisit the table called invoice. Select asterisk from invoice. Now look at this. It's selecting everything, but if I use now we are trying to put into practice, trying to apply the equality operators we have just learned. So I'll use the greater than operator. Select asterisk from invoice where customer ID is greater than 7. Okay, so customer ID here, greater than 7, you see the values 88888. If I scroll down, you follow, it's 9, 10, 11. So they all satisfy the condition that customer ID must be greater than 7. Now let's go to the next example. Select asterisk. Now we used another equality operator, which is less than. Not so, we know the concept of this one from school, okay? So select from asterisk from invoice where customer ID is less than 7. Okay? Look at the data, it is 6. Okay. Now if we use the other operator, the less than or equal to, we're using it on a date. Oops. Okay. Select asterisk from invoice where invoice date is less than or equal to 2007 August 24. And sure enough, when you go to invoice date column over here, you can see for yourself that all the dates must be less than, meaning older than, August 24. And indeed, they all are. So this starts from January the 1st, and I scroll all the way to the bottom. It's August 16, which is still less than August 24. Less than in the context of a date means older than. So this August 16 is older than August 24. Finally, we will use the word between as promised, which is also very handy when we're trying to tweak the data set that we're trying to get using SQL, using a select statement. So here we're using between. Well, of course, when you use a between keyword, you have to supply two values. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to use between. And between works with and, just like in an English sentence. So select asterisk from invoice where invoice date between 2007 Feb the 1st and 2007 0205. So when I execute this, no, okay. Now focus on the column called invoice date, which is over here, and sure enough, the values should fall in between this range that I've given, Feb the 1st to Feb the 5th, and they are. We have 1, February 2nd, and 3rd. Okay, so here we have learned quite a bit, quite a lot in this short stretch, about 30 minutes. Okay, I guess that will be it for now. I will recap. It's been 30 minutes. So, because it was very quick. So again, we've learned about data types. Remember that data types, we can squeeze it into these three first. Focus on this. Number, sometimes called numeric. You have varchar2 or character, and then you have a date. These three are the most commonly encountered data or data types. And we have used the where clause on three different columns, having three different data types. One, which is character. We've seen that we need to use a quote there. Number, we don't use, and then date. And then we have seen how to use equality operators, especially in a where condition, in a where clause. We've seen also why, we've learned what's the use of all this less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, which is to include an otherwise data that potentially could be lost forever. Okay, and then here we have used in a where condition the equality operators, greater than, less than, these things. And we also learned about between. We have also seen the concept of null, null meaning no value. And that, I think that will be it for now. And again, if you haven't subscribed yet, I suggest you do. You click on that button, click the bell so that you can really get this going. And because I will really be uploading videos once or twice a week, and it will really be a continuous thing. It will be a series, and we cannot rush these things. We cannot be too slow. We cannot be too fast with this thing. Happy learning, and thank you.